How's it going, YouTube? Want to give y'all some pointers and see if anything helps out. I got my CO2 laser machine roughly about a week and a half ago, and I've been doing some burning, cutting, engraving, some modifications to make things easier, to make sure that everything's running fine, make sure that you can see the water flowing, checking the temperature of the water. Um, had requests as far as how I'm going to connect like a computer or laptop to the machine. What I've pretty much been doing right now is going from CorelDraw, exporting it as a DXF file, bringing it into RDWorks. In CorelDraw, just selecting the multiple colors, mainly 3, 4 different colors, so I can change speed, percentage of the laser power, and that effect from scan to a cut. One of the things I want to show is how to change RDWorks from millimeters to regular standard US scale. So our machine, or my machine that I have, I know it is 700 millimeters wide by 500 deep, and you can see that I have that set here. I'd rather use inches, so let's go up here to config. I believe it's under page settings. No, it's not. But there's where I've got it set. The page setting, 700 width by 500 height, which is deep. Okay, you can change the grid squares. I've got it at 10. Okay, then we're going to go to file parameter settings. Okay, here, DXF units, we're going to change those to inches. And we're going to change the unit type. That's going to be inches. Click OK. Now I can see that the 700 wide is roughly, what is that? A little bit more than 27 and a half, less than there's 27 and 3/4. So we're right in between there. But my work, I don't see where I'll be using anything more than 24 inches wide, but at least I can set up parameters up to 27 and a half. Okay, coming down here, all I'm doing is turning my little wheel on my mouse. So we're not quite at 19, not quite at 20, we're at close to 1975. So let's say 19 and a half, just to make things kind of easy for us to work with. So now this green box, what that is when a unit or an item is done, and I'm just going to draw a box right here. When, let's say this is to cut out a piece of board, and it's going to start there, come down, across, up, and over, and stop there once it's finished. That's kind of good there, because that's where I like it, because then I can basically pull out my board from the front, and I'm not going to hit the laser head. Now, I believe that's something that I changed in the beginning. I think it's under system settings, and there is the laser head. If you basically put it in the center, when it's done doing its cut, it's going to go from here, corner, cut, 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 and it's going to move there. Then you have to move the head out of the way in order to pull that board out. So once you're done, it's good to have the head get out of the way, and that way you can pull out your material. So I'm going to put that back where I had it. So close. So basically we went from millimeters to inches. I gave you a little description of what this is. So we're going to get rid of that. Delete. Okay, now I'm going to show you some other pointers if you're going in from Corel to RDWorks. So we're in CorelDraw now. And what we're going to do is I'm going to change a couple of items. Right now it's telling me my board is 20 by 20, so let's go 20.5, and then we're basically 19 and a half. There, that is pretty much a view of our work area. Okay, excuse me. Now this here is called the nudge factor. It's sit real low. I'm going to do basically 1 inch. And this is offsets. We're going to go to 0 to 0. Now basically that's the way I work with that particular settings. Now we're going to do a box. and let's say you draw a box anywhere and it's here. Okay, if you hit P, that puts it in the center of your work area. Okay, we draw a circle, and actually that's an ellipse. I'm turning my wheel to zoom out a little bit, and I'm gonna hit P. So now we're in the center. Okay, now with the nudge factor that I did earlier, which was there, that one, if I select an item, it moves over 1 inch, and there's another inch, and that makes it real easy to move stuff around. And you know that if you need one there, I'm gonna hit Control D to duplicate, and that's 1 inch over, and that's another inch over. And this comes in real handy and when we're actually going with scaled items. So what I'm going to do now is I'm getting rid of that. I just left click, delete everything. We're going to create a box. If you hit your control button and you hit your left button, that makes a perfectly square box. Okay, now if I let go of the control button, now I can make a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to hit control, there we go. Now let's say, for example, you can see where the numbers up here are changing while I move that around. That's actually telling me the size of that box. So let me see, so you can see where it's changing. So let's go with a 2-inch box and 2 again. I didn't have to hit both of them. I could have done right now, because this little lock is there. One can be 2 and the other one can be 3, and then I've got a rectangle. Okay, so we're going to do undo, and let's go, we're going to lock that in place. Now whatever I do here happens on the other one. So if I do a 3, it automatically does 3 on the other one. Okay, so let's go back to a 2. Okay, we're going to go to 2, enter, and we're off center of the page. So we're going to hit P, and there it is. With having that 1 inch nudge factor, I'm going to select Control D and move up. That's halfway. Move up again. Now I'm just going to hit enter, and there we go. Now if we zoom in, we're perfectly aligned right on top of the edge of the other one. Okay, so if we made that a 1 inch box, enter, hit P, move up and up, there. Now Control D, Control D, and we can move around and hit right where we need to be. Control D. Okay, that's just showing you some little steps for now, but the real thing that I want to show you is the different boxes. Okay, now here these boxes are actually hollow boxes, and the way I'm going to show you that is I create a box, and if I move this here or create that box, fill the box. Now if I drag one of these boxes over, it's going to disappear because this box is on top, because as you draw it stacks stuff on the page. So we're going to make that that blue box an item on the back of the page. So now you can see that the box we created earlier, you can see through it. You can see the color. This, all you're seeing is the outline of the box. Okay, now we're going to select this one here, and we're going to give it a green color. We're going to grab this box, we'll give it a red color. We'll grab this box and we're going to give it orange color. Okay, this box here, we're just going to leave it as is, black. We're getting rid of that one, and we're getting rid of that one. Now what I'm trying to point out is if we zoom in, I'm going to basically zoom in, you can see that there's a black outline on each one of these boxes, and then this is a hollow box with the black outline. You have to be careful when you go into RDWorks because it sees that black, and if you have this black selected as a cutout, this will fall through the wood. You may want this one to be at 10% power, 30% power, and 50% power, which is going to be light, a little darker, and a little darker. But as soon as it comes to this black, it's going to cut them out and these pieces will fall out. So the way you get rid of these outlines is you select, okay, up here is the little pin, but this is actually, and everything should be what's called hairline. So any outlines, you want it to be a hairline. Okay, so this is now a very fine hairline, but there again, we don't want any black on the outside of these boxes. So you go from hairline to, and let's, so you can see what's happening here. So we go from hairline to none. Now we just have a color box with no black outline. Okay, so now we got basically 4 different boxes. We're selecting everything. We're going to export, and right now I'm under that. I'm going to go into a test file, and we're going to call it box, and we're saving. Okay, we're done. Okay, now let's go into RDWorks. In RDWorks, what we're going to do is import the DXF file, and what we do is go back into my test, and I have one called box, and you can kind of see the 3 different colors we're opening. Okay, so right now they're all red because they're selected, but over here on the side you can see the different color boxes. So if you click anywhere on the screen, now you got your individual colors. So a cut is actually going to cut, and I haven't done it where it's a fill in. So what I do when something's filled in, I do a scan. So you double click on the item, and we're going to change that to a scan. And speed, we can leave it at that, but this is, we're just going to go by 10. I don't know what that's for, and then leave this one at 10 as well. Let OK. So you can see here we're at scan 100 speed at 10%, and then you can increase the speed and go to a more powerful setting, which let's say 30 and 30, and scan as well, which is good. This is going to be another scan because these are filled in boxes, and we can go, the last one is 30, so we'll make this a 50, and then this one a 50, and click OK. Then this will be a cutout. Let's say you got a piece of 1/4-inch paneling, which is what I've been cutting out, ornaments and stuff. I go at basically 7 millimeters a second, and I go at a power of 80, and that cuts that paneling perfect. Here's something to keep an eye on. This won't do anything because I have it turned off. So you have to have it as an output for it to actually do that particular line item. Now you can actually also move these the way you want. I always save my cutouts for last, so I go from low power to high power to cutout, and that basically takes care of it. It'd be 100 speed at 10 power, 200 speed at 30 power. This would be 300 speed at 50 power, and then you got slow speed at 7 millimeters per second at 80% power. So then what you do is basically you would save this to a U file, and you basically slide in your USB. I'm just going to put it onto the spot where we have our test box, so we can go box. Now there we go. And let's say this is a work file that you wanted to come back and work on. What we just did, we saved the to U file. That's actually what goes to the machine. But if you want to make modifications to this file later on, you actually have to save it as a work file. So you save as, and here's our spot, and we go to box. Okay, save. So let's say, for example, we close this out. I'm going to minimize CorelDraw, go to my Windows Explorer. Let's go into okay, so now we're going to have separate files here. Let's do change the view to details, and we had box. Here's the DXF that we exported from CorelDraw. This RD file is what actually goes into the machine to burn, cut, or engrave, and then this is the one that you actually use in the RDWorks. So we're going to minimize, load RDWorks back up. Okay, now if we want to open it, open, and here's your RLD file. Open, and there we go. And then you can add more, draw, whatever else. This is very basic right now, just to see if this helps you out at all. I guess that's it for now. You take care.